Okay, everyone, this is actually a request video from one of my viewers that asked me to do a video on how to create a casino affiliate website in a language that you do not speak. So for example, I'm Swedish, so I speak Swedish, and I also speak English, which is kind of like a second language. And let's say I want to open a website in Spain, for example. I actually do know some Spanish, but obviously not fluently. And so let's say another example. Let's say I want to open a website in French, and French for me is a very difficult language, so I don't speak French at all. And of course, how do I, for example, put my content on my website? How do I, do everything around the website? How do I display bonus offers and stuff like that? So in this video, I'm going to talk about that. I think that this is a pretty interesting subject. It's not as difficult as many of you might think. I do recommend you guys to start your first website, maybe in a language that you do understand, for example, in English, or if you are French, maybe you can open a website with the French language, because it's going to make it easier as well. But if you have a website in English, for example, and you want to expand to another market, you can very easily use the content you already have and basically just translate it and rewrite it to another language, which is something that I do very frequently. And if you're completely new to this channel, my name is Adam. I've been working with casino affiliate marketing for about 8 years, and I'm running this YouTube channel, obviously, and I also run a community called CasinoAffMastery, and that is gathering everyone that wants to learn about casino affiliate marketing. So it both has a course that is pretty long, like 50 videos or something like that. And it's also a community with over 100 members. So inside of the community, people can talk to each other and learn from each other, hold each other accountable, and we can just, hang out. We have weekly Q&As and stuff like that. So if you're interested in that, there's also a link in the description, but never mind. So I've spent some time preparing for this video. Actually, I haven't really prepared that much. I've been opening an empty document like this, but I do have some pointers, and I have structured the video on everything that I want to teach you inside of this video. So the first thing is, let's make it a bit bigger maybe. First thing is, why should we create a website different? So you can call it market, you can call it geo, you can call it language, you can call it country, whatever. So this is basically the same thing. Obviously, you can be in a market that speaks English, and then you can create a website in a different market that also speaks English. So obviously, then the language is going to be the same. There's going to be some slight variations, of course, between, for example, British English and English in New Zealand or the US or Canada. But I guess that you understand the point of this. Then I'm going to talk about how to find a content writer. Zoom in a bit like this. And then I'm going to talk about how to translate your content. And here, there's many different roads to go here. You can use a content service, a freelancer. You can use ChatGPT, for example. I've actually been starting to use ChatGPT myself when it comes to translating content. And I'm going to give you a prompt in this video. So if you just hang tight, I'm going to show you that prompt. I will also, if I remember, put it in the description. Otherwise, just ask me for it. It's actually pretty detailed. I work quite a bit on this prompt. So yeah, I'm going to show you that later. Then we have how to insert interlinks. And this is pretty important because if you're working in a language that you do understand, you can put in pretty natural interlinks. But if you don't understand the content and you don't have a content manager that can do this for you, it's pretty important to understand how to do this in a natural way. And then we're going to talk about how to optimize your keywords. Because even if you have a word, obviously like the word online casino is pretty much globally used. In some countries, for example, in Spain, they use casino en línea. But other countries, like say in Brazil, for example, they don't really use the term online casino in the same way. They are more using like betting platforms, so casino platforms and stuff like that. And also in Sweden, we have a word for online casino, which is basically like nat casino. And that is kind of a cringe word, so we don't really use that. And I do see it on Swedish affiliate websites when I realized pretty quickly that this is not a Swedish content writer has been writing this, because the keywords are very like straight translated to Swedish. So it doesn't really look that natural. So this is kind of important as well to kind of understand this. Then I want to talk about how to set up your website in different markets, geos, language, everything like this. And then I can also quickly talk about how to buy backlinks. links for these websites or for these countries. It's not going to differ that much. That's why I want to talk about it. But there are maybe some things to keep in mind, especially when it comes to the content that you're sending. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. So when I got started, I actually started in the UK market because that one was all the hype when I got started. I didn't really start in the Swedish market because I asked kind of people like, what market should I start in? And a lot of people were like, you're starting the UK. So I did. So the UK worked decently well for me. And after I was kind of not finished, but I felt like I've been doing so much in the UK market. I wanted to open up a new market. So I went to the German market. That worked also pretty well. And then obviously you talk to affiliate managers and stuff like that, and they ask you, oh, do you have any traffic from Spain, from Canada, from wherever, like New Zealand? So then you start kind of just expanding to these new markets. And all of a sudden I had a website with like working in 8 markets or something. For one, it's really good to kind of cross-sell your operators that you're working with. Let's say that you can negotiate a deal and you say, I can push you in all of these 4 markets, 5 markets, whatever it is. In that way, you become a bit more attractive as a casino affiliate. And also you don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So let's say that one market gets ridiculously regulated, or maybe you are losing a lot of rankings or whatever it might be. You have all of these other markets that you can focus on. And also, like I mentioned before, it's a pretty easy way to scale. Once you have like the operations down, you have a website that is performing really well, you have the content up, and if you want to open up new markets, it doesn't have to take that much effort and time. And also, if you already have a lot of brands that you're working with and maybe they want to start, get listed in this new country that you want to work in. And also it's fun. It's fun to try new markets. At least I think that, because you can maybe try different approaches that you cannot do in other markets. And your website just becomes more attractive, also especially if you want to sell your website in the future, that looks way better. So I think you can kind of figure out that it is a pretty good way to diversify your traffic and also to scale. So that is the answer to that. The second one is to find how to find a content writer. And when I have like my private coaching calls and when I have inside of the community and I talk to people, something that they usually have problems with is to find content writers, especially in foreign languages, because it feels like a lot of content writers nowadays, they're trying to cut corners when it comes to using AI content and stuff like that. And it's pretty hard to, proofread content. Let's say it's written in Polish is a good example, because I have one of my private coaching students that are doing the Polish market, and he's having quite some problems, not only in terms of maybe the content, but also maybe there's going to be some cultural differences, and it's going to be maybe hard to communicate in a sense. Maybe you're in a completely different time zone, stuff like that. But what I would do is that I would go to Upwork, because Upwork is the platform that I've been using the most. I would put up a listing. I would make the listing a bit detailed, and I would only reply to people that clearly show that they read, your job post. And I would also set up a video call with them. To be honest, I would probably set up calls with like maybe 2-3 people. I would take 2 of them and I would have both of them write articles for me. And I would not only judge them based on maybe the quality, I would also judge them on how interested they are in writing for you. Because let's say that you're opening up a website in the Polish market, you want someone that can basically write all of your content for a long period of time. So you want to find someone that is interested in making it work and interested in making, quality content. So you don't just find someone and pay them and hope that the content is good, because that is going to be hard. Really try to find someone that you can have a strong connection with, someone that wants to basically be a part of your team. So that is why it's really good to have a video call, because then you can look them in the eyes and see how serious they are. You can also use different services. I'm going to give you one recommendation, because I like Top Content. They have been operating for a really long time. They are very specialized in iGaming content. I'm not affiliated with them at all, but I've been using them for quite some time. And you can basically buy human written content here. And when you log in, you basically top up your account with funds. Then you also can communicate with the content writers, and you can give them content briefs and stuff like that. You can also probably get content briefs. So they are working in these languages, which is a lot of languages, I guess. So I would recommend, you can also, I guess, set up a call with them to basically see how their services work. So go to topcontent.com. I don't have any affiliate links or anything like that, but go and check them out. I'm not saying that they are best in any way, but it's a pretty convenient solution to use. Obviously, if you really want, you can also use different AI tools to write content. You can use Surfer AI. That is a pretty nice tool to use, I guess, if you want to create AI content. Not saying there's anything inherently wrong with AI content. I'm just saying that a lot of people that decide to use AI content, they're using it to cut corners and to save money. And if you are cutting corners, usually the result is going to be bad. But if you are like a wizard of prompting and you can create AI content, and you can also put a human touch on your content, you have to go through it. And that is also obviously pretty hard if you don't understand the language. So I would, like I've been doing, I find a really good English content writer. I write all of the content in English, and then I translate it over to a different language. And then I was using proofreaders a bit, but I realized that my content was so well translated, so I actually stopped doing that. And then I kind of used humanize it with changing maybe the headers and just make everything smooth. I'm going to talk about that just in a second. I think that might be the next step. So the conclusion is find a freelancer that you enjoy working with and that seem to enjoy working with you. So the conclusion is find a content writer that you enjoy working with and also that seems to be enjoying to work with you. And yeah, and just work with that person. Because here trust is very important. Then we have translating your content. And here I've actually set up a prompt that I'm also going to share with you. Because here I have really worked on this prompt hard to make sure that all of the translations that I'm sending to ChatGPT is going to be basically not a rewrite of the content, because usually that's what ChatGPT really likes to do. They like to shorten the length of the content. They like to change it and just basically come up with something themselves. So here I've really made sure that they're preserving the paragraph and sentence structure, translate meaning for meaning, not word for word. So all of the basically sentences are the same, but it's not going to be like robotic with word for word. And maintain the same tone and style, because you have one content writer basically that you are using for English. So you want to keep the same tone and style because you're going to use the same content writer as well, but you're basically going to put in a translator that you say on your website that this has been translated by, and then you can just put a random name up there. Then I'm telling it also to double check the terminology and market references. So I want them to change, for example, if I'm using euro as a currency, I want them to change it to the British pound. And also, let's say that they're talking about the UK Gambling Commission in UK, and I translate it to Spanish. I want them to talk about the Spanish regulations instead of the UK ones. And this is something that they're doing very successfully. I really like this. So here I keep references unchanged. I might add brief clarification if needed. So the meaning remains constant. Quality control and natural flow. So this is like basically from the view of ChatGPT. So ChatGPT is going to, read it out loud and review it themselves to ensure that everything is natural and nice. And believe me that the content I've been translating with this prompt has been working very well, because I've been sending it to proofreaders, and the proofreaders feel like this content sounds very natural. And then here, depending on the market, I'm doing the Italian market. That's why it says Italian here. So it goes in to confirm that I get the same headings, paragraph breaks. Something that I also wanted to show, that they actually have a bit of a problem with the formatting. So what I did here is that, let's say that I want to translate this article here. And before I have all of the images and stuff, you can go to the code editor. This is optional if you want. And I basically copy like this. So I got the header and the paragraph code inside of ChatGPT, and I tell ChatGPT to not change this. So when I copy it back into the code editor on my new subdirectory, basically all of the headings and everything is going to look the same. So this is a really nice way that I found making the formatting, so I don't have to go in for every article and I have to format all of the headings and all of the paragraphs and stuff like that. It took so much time, and now when I'm using this method instead, it's working way easier. So it's like a bonus tip. So this one, I'm going to for sure share it inside of the description. So the next one is how to insert in links. And here I'm going to give you a method that I didn't create. This is a method that actually, I need to find it. One of my community members created. So it's basically a prompt for ChatGPT. Let's see here. Here it is. I did try this one and it worked recently well. I will place it also in the description of this video. You can also pause this video and read it if you want. But basically what it does is that you're giving them your URL. It's crawling all of the internal pages of your website and it finds good places to place interlinks inside of the content that you're giving to ChatGPT. Something that I do sometimes, let's see if I can go, just find an example here. This is a staging website that I usually play around with just to show people. So let's say that you want to interlink from new online casinos, and maybe this is in another language, and you want to interlink to a free spins page. You can do like this. So here was not a lot of content on free spins. So that was a bad example. And let's say that you don't have any content about free spins and you want to link to a free spins page. What I did in the past was that I took somewhere when it made sense. Let's see. For example, here, you find even more amazing online casinos. We also included a list of new casino sites that caught our attention, maybe because they're offering a great amount of free spins. Then I take this to DeepL, I translate it over, I add that small section, and I just basically paste it back. So then I get a placement for my interlink. But it's a pretty nice way to do it. Let's say casino bonus, which we have 4 times on this website. So generous casino bonuses, and then you can put the interlink there. Yeah, that's a good place to put it. And you can also, of course, ask your content writer after you have some content up to go through your website and add interlinks where it looks natural. Don't forget also to go back to older pages that you have and interlink to your newer one. That is a really good SEO hack because then your new page is going to hopefully get indexed way faster if you're getting old links to a new page. So that is a good one. Let's go to the next one. Good. Thank you, Joseph, for this one. It's really useful. How to optimize your keywords. I do have other videos of this on my YouTube channel, so I do recommend you go into my YouTube channel and having a look at my keyword research videos because they do actually apply on keyword research in foreign languages. It's not going to differ that much, to be honest, because in terms of keywords, we are not in an age where keywords has to be super specific in order to rank for something, because if you have a content writer that basically grasps the information that you want to share on a page, Google is going to understand and reward you anyway. Obviously, it's good to optimize your headers, and that is where I put most of my energy. I just basically find the most used keywords amongst competitors, and I'm trying to put them in my header as well. So you can also take a keyword, you write it in Google, and you go to one of your competitors. You can also use ChatGPT for this. Go there and talk to ChatGPT, see what type of keywords ranks. Be very specific when you talk to ChatGPT in these instances. Ask them to only share keywords with you that has a minimum volume of 50 as shown in Ahrefs, something like that. Obviously, it's not going to be exact, but that is a pretty good way to filter some, keywords that no one is searching for out. So I'm not going to talk too much about keyword research in this video because I have it in other videos. For example, here you can use my content strategy. It's going to be pretty similar to what you're doing in a language that you do speak. To be honest, I don't really know where my video about keyword research is, but I do have one. Oh, I found it. It's here. So watch this one. It's pretty interesting. So the summary on this one is that I would use as much as I can my competitors to take the keywords that they're ranking for, and I would put them on my own website. I would give these keywords to my content writers so that he or she also kind of understands the keywords that you want to use. Make sure to tell them not to over-optimize your content. They cannot just use a keyword 5,000 times in an article that is 1,500 words, because that is going to basically over-optimize everything, and Google is going to penalize that in a sense. So just focus on very natural quality content. Find a content writer that knows what they're writing about, and if you do that, keywords are important, but they are not like life or death important. So in terms of creating kind of like a silo structure, a topical map, also go to the competitors, see how they have been structuring their websites, and find the one that is most successful. Usually what I say when you are looking for competitors is to don't compare yourself to the websites that has been ranking for 10 years because they are playing in kind of like a different league. Try to find a competitor that has been around for maybe 2-3 years and see a steady and gradual curve of organic traffic because these are the most accurate ones, because they are kind of new and they have been seeing steady rise in traffic, even though there has been, algorithm updates. So have a look at this. So how to run and set up your website in different markets. Let's say that you want your website to be in Spanish, Turkish, German, English, and all of that. What I do is I set up my websites on different subdirectories. And I'm not going to go too much into detail about subdirectories in this video, mainly because it's not complicated in a sense, but I don't really do it myself because that is kind of like the technical part that I usually outsource to someone. But I have a guide inside of the community here in the resources. Let's see, that I can show you, YouTuber people as well. Here is a creating a subdirectory guide. So here, if you want, you can also pause and read this. It's also a document here. So basically what you're doing in order to not cannibalize your website and also to tell Google where the content you are creating should be shown in what country, you're creating hreflangs and they look basically like this. This is a code that you place inside of your header code on your website so that, for example, Google understands where they should show the website. So for example, here you have your main site in English here, but then you also want to create a website for the US. So then you have two English speaking markets basically. Let's say that this one is EN dash, or this one, GB, like this. The second one you create should be like EN US. So then the language is English, but the country code is GB and US, which is Great Britain here. And the same here, if you want to open it up for Brazil, you have Portuguese language, but you have it in Brazil. If you want it to open up in Portugal, you have PT line PT. And if you want to do it in, let's say, Spain, you put just ES. So that is how we do that. So I can show you an example. This is a good example. I use casino.org in many of my examples. So here basically what you can see is that this is casino.org. This is their homepage. This is where they are writing a lot of general stuff. But then if you go to one of their other basic like subdirectories, markets, you're going to see that it adds like a UK here in the domain, in the URL. And this is basically the subdirectory here. And they have a lot of other countries. Scroll down. You see here, select country. So for example, take Brazil. Then it's also going to change here, up here. Now they changed the directory to PT line BR. And I would probably just use BR like this, but they added PT as well. So yeah, this is basically how that works. So you're setting up your subdirectories inside of your hosting. You can also ask your hosting provider, like in custom support, how you would go about. Basically what you do is that you have one website. Let's say that it's this one, and you want to open up this one for the Spanish market. You copy the whole website, you put it on a staging version so you can edit it without going live. And then you basically put it on this subdirectory. So let's say that this website is casinowebsite.com. I create a subdirectory that is casinowebsite.com/es. And then before I take it live, I translate all of the content on it. And then I have the website set up in a different market. So then you can add like here in the menu, you can add like some flags, and then you can go to these different markets. If you have more questions about this, you can also book a free call with me, like in the description, because maybe it's getting a bit complicated. But I assure you that once you get this down, it's going to be pretty easy to do it and you can scale it very rapidly. How would I go about buying backlinks? This is a pretty interesting topic. I have videos on my YouTube channel talking about backlinks, and backlinks, you are basically going to do it the same way. You're not going to over-optimize your anchor text. You're going to keep them very natural. You're going to link with your branded anchor, and you're going to obviously just use common sense when it comes to creating the content. Don't just create poor AI content as your guest post. Also find a content writer, maybe tell them that they don't have to, spend a lot of time like perfecting your guest post. Just tell them to write very natural sounding guest posts where they can also put in your link. You just tell them what type of target URL you're going to use and the anchor text, and they're going to put it inside of the guest post in a natural way. And also, let's say that you want to buy backlinks for the Portuguese market. Then you basically either find a backlink builder that can find you just link opportunities in the Portuguese market. So they don't really have to be .pt. They can also be .com domains and stuff like that. Some people are asking me if you can buy, for example, a Brazilian link from a .pt website that has Portuguese traffic, or does it have to be a website that has traffic from Brazil? To be honest, I don't think it matters that much. I think you can buy backlinks from basically every website. Also keep in mind that it is kind of natural to get backlinks to a foreign language from an English-speaking website, because that is still the default language. So don't be too afraid of buying backlinks that are not in the target language. Obviously, don't overdo it, but that is what I'm doing, at least, because it's a bit easier and you can sometimes find cheaper backlinks, especially if you're doing countries like Sweden, where the backlinks are way more expensive. So I really hope that this video helped you with creating a website in a language that you don't speak. Maybe some things I made it sound even more complicated. And this video was not meant to teach you how to do this, because that video would probably be way too long. It would be like 2 hours or something. This video was just to explain to you the process and basically give you some ideas on how you can do it. If you are more interested in specifics, just leave a comment in the comment section and I will reply to every comment like I always do. So if you also want to give me some suggestions on videos that you want to see, also leave it in the comment section. I do appreciate it, because I'm running out of ideas very soon. No, I'm always going to try to find something. But yeah, so until the next video, I see you very soon. Bye-bye.